So settle down on your backs with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And perhaps the first thing you could do, just while everyone's getting organized, is to let your head roll to the right and to the left a few times. So easing your head from side to side. And also depending how you're feeling, and Hilary, it might be quite nice for you. You could do the one where you rub your hands together and bring your eyes. So I don't know if you have to say Hilary for you, but I find if I've not slept well, then it can make me feel a little bit headachy. So if you feel that it'd be nice to do the one where you rub your palms together, bring your palms over your eyes, and then carry on letting your head roll a little bit from side to side. So if you're feeling perhaps a little bit headachy, a little bit tired, then that can be quite nice to start with. So as usual, we're going to start off doing a few things on our back, and then we're going to move on into doing a bit of some sequences, some balances, but we're going to just start off slowly. So from rolling your head with your palms over your eyes, if you like, you can settle the center of the back of your head on the floor and just bring your arms to rest, maybe down by your side. And then start to tilt your knees to the right and to the left. That's it. So tilting your knees from side to side. And just keeping the movement easy. See if you can do something that feels enjoyable, that feels good right now. The knees tilting from side to side. And just do that a few more times. And then pause in the center. And you're going to keep your right knee bent and your right foot standing on the floor. And you're going to lengthen your left leg out on the ground. So right knee bent, left leg long. Come tilting that right knee a little bit to the left, a little bit towards the center. That's it. And just again, notice now as we're just tilting this one leg that you're going to feel more of the movement of the leg in the hip joint. There's probably less of the pelvis moving. And then from letting your knee tilt, so Al, you might want to now lengthen out the left leg. So what I'd like you to do now is to not let the right knee tilt. You're going to start pressing down into your right foot and letting your pelvis tilt over to the left. That's it. Good. And repeat this a few times. So it could be that you coordinate the movement with your breathing, you exhale, you press down into your right foot, you let your pelvis tilt to the left. Good. Oh, hi, we have Donna joining us on Zoom. That's very exciting. Good. So just repeat this a couple more times, pressing down in, letting your pelvis. And then we'll just pause for a moment. We're going to keep on with this movement. Hi, Donna. It's really nice to see you on Zoom. The internet seems to be a bit bad today, people, so we're not as bad as it was last night. Just bear with it. So pause for a moment and then cross your arms over your chest. So you've got your right arm on top. So keep your left leg long. That's it. Keep the left leg long. The right knee is bent. So Donna, we've got the right knee bent, the right foot standing on the floor, and the arms crossed over the chest with the right arm on top. And so you're going to come back to pressing into your right foot. And you're also going to roll across your upper back now. So you're rolling towards the back of your left shoulder. Now, Sarah, you might be better with your arms in that sort of circle, I think. That was better for your shoulder, wasn't it? And also let your head roll over towards the left. That's nice. So we're just doing that movement where we're rolling all of our weight towards the left side of our body. And this can feel like a bit of a massage for the upper body. That's it. And so just again, doing something that feels comfortable, that feels enjoyable for you right now. You can do this a couple more times. And then what I'd like you to do is to use this movement to roll yourself all the way over onto your left side. And when you come onto your left side, we're not doing the Anantasana balance. You're going to bend your knees. You're just going to come to sort of rest on your side. Maybe bring your bottom arm under the side of your head. So roll all the way onto your left side. Make yourself comfortable on your left side with your knees bent. So as if you were going to have a little rest on your side. Yes, and if you want a cushion under the side of your head, that's it. I'll do that. Yes, here we grab a cushion. Sorry, that's quite a thin one actually. I would have this one instead. Sarah, do you want a cushion under the side of your head as well? And then what you're going to do once you've settled down on your side is you're just going to do that little movement where you pick your bottom ribs off the floor and place them back down again. And do that a few times. So it's where we sort of make that little tunnel under the side of our body, picking the bottom ribs off the floor, placing them back down again. Sarah, you might want your knees a little bit higher up, just to, yeah, and feet a little bit further forward. That might make you feel a bit more comfy. Okay, so a couple more times doing that movement on your left side. And then in your own time, roll back onto your back. And just perhaps put your cushion out of the way, but you'll need it when we come onto the other side in a moment. So come onto your back. It might be quite nice to lengthen both legs out on the floor briefly. Give both legs a bit of a roll or bounce to your knees. So feel the length of your body settled on the ground. And then when you're ready, you're going to bend your left and your left foot on the floor. That's it. And then you're going to start off with your arms on the floor beside you. Start off then by pressing down into your left foot, letting your pelvis tilt towards the right. And it might be that you coordinate, yes, sorry, I forgot that one, didn't I? I forgot the tilting of the knee from side to side. Maybe do that a few times. Let that left knee tilt to the right and to the left. Well remembered. Good. And then you stop tilting your knee. You settle your knee in the center, and then you start pressing into your foot. And what I was going to say on this side is you could coordinate that pressing movement with your exhalation. So you could let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, press down into your foot. Let your pelvis roll towards the right. You're right there with that blanket bunched up, Hilary. You're not noticing it. It's okay. It's tolerable. Okay, good. So repeat this a couple more times. And then whenever you're ready, you can pause with your pelvis on the ground, and you can cross your arms over your chest with your left arm top, or Sarah, come to that circle. And so now, as you press into your left foot, also roll across your upper back. That's it. So you're rolling your weight towards the back of your right shoulder. You're letting your head roll towards the right. So this movement is becoming sort of the whole of your body is involved in this movement. Good. And rather than, I think as you all know, rather than rolling onto your fingertips, you can trail your left fingertips out on the floor away from you. So sort of along the floor on the right. Good. So you can do this a couple more times. And then as we did on the other side, use this movement to relax your toes, Sarah. Oh, that's it. Use this movement to roll yourself all the way onto your right side. And then if you've got a cushion or something you've had under your head, just come and make yourself comfy on your side like we did on the other side. So bending your knees. We're not trying to balance here. Bending your knees, settling on the side. Have a breath or two there. And then you're going to, when you've settled on your side, you're going to do that little movement where you pick your bottom ribs up off the floor and place them back down again. So lift the bottom ribs off the floor, place them down. Sorry, there are tissues up there if anyone needs them. So I was about to sneeze. Okay. And you can also just have a couple of quiet breaths on your side, because from being on our side, we're going to come over into cobbler pose. So we're not sort of charging off into anything just yet. We're just going to do a couple of, a little bit of cobbler pose, a little bit of pinwheel. So when you're ready, so if you make your way into cobbler pose facing the long edge of your mat, and you could lean back on your arms to start with. Depending how you feel, you could be holding. Just a couple of breaths in cobbler pose. And from here, we'll come on into pinwheel. And I think when I was in this class yesterday, I thought then we'd go straight into pigeon, but we're going to later on, because I suddenly thought that's a little bit early. So so from cobbler pose, fold one knee on top of the other knee, slide that leg back. We're going to come into pinwheel, and we're going to do the one where you give yourself a hug. So like we were on our back, and you can let your head hang forward. So it feels nice for the shoulders, and you can do some circling here. So let the head hang forward. I've got my hands on my shoulders, feeling really wide across the upper back, the back of the neck. So we can be working on two things here, the hips and the shoulders, and that can be quite helpful. Good. And obviously, Sarah, if it's better for you not to do this, then you can release your arms. Okay. And so if this is helpful doing the circling, you can do a little bit more. But also, whenever you like, you can release your arms, you can turn towards your knee that's coming out to the side, and you can fold down into your pinwheel forward bend. Just let yourself settle with a few breaths there. So let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Give the weight of your body to the ground. So perhaps just another couple of cycles of breath. And then walking your hands in towards you, make your way back up into pinwheel. From pinwheel, make your way back, stack your legs up, move through cobbler pose. We're not really going to stay here. We're going to go straight on into side two of pinwheel. So move, stack your legs up the other way, slide the top leg back. And then again, give yourself a hug if this is helpful. So again, Sarah, if your shoulder's not so keen, don't do it. Let your head fall forward. So we've got the back of the neck lengthening, feeling across the back of the shoulders, and a bit of I was just thinking, whenever I do this, I want to close my eyes. So I don't know. You obviously don't have to close your eyes, but for me, it always feels like that's what I want to do here. So a little bit of circling one way and the other way, and just really feeling if we can let the shoulders drop and soften and widen. And from here, we'll release arms. We'll turn towards the knee that's going out to the side, and we'll fold down into our pinwheel forward bend for a few breaths. And just let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Allow yourself to settle, to quiet, and very nice. You can have another couple of breaths if you like in pinwheel. What we're going to do from here, so you can do this when you're ready, is come to hands and knees and come into dog pose. So almost from pinwheel, we can sort of bring our hands down onto the ground and then bring ourselves onto hands and knees. And what I was thinking about is, it really depends on how you're feeling, but perhaps staying in dog pose. If you come into dog pose and it really doesn't feel great and you want to come back down, that's fine. But if you can stay in dog pose and have maybe half a dozen or so cycles of breath there. Let your head go. And just, yeah, give yourself a bit of time to settle in dog. But Sarah, for you, it might not be that you want to stay there. So if you have got any, I'd say particularly shoulder issues at the moment, then it might be that you don't want to stay in dog. Good. We're coming into, so we're going to do dog pose, forward bend, sort of forward bend, sorry, dog pose, child pose. So if you, so whenever you want to come out of dog, you can fold into child pose. Yeah, it's nice with the head out. So very nice. So when you come into child pose, just taking a moment or two to quieten, to settle, to feel the movement of the breath. Very nice dog pose there, Hannah. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. And from child pose, we're going to walk our hands in. So we come to sit in kneeling. You've got the option. You can either be sitting over your heels and kneeling. So you can be sitting down in kneeling, or you can be up in kneeling. So if sitting down over your heels is not so good, be up in kneeling. Because what we're going to do is swinging our arms from side to side. And this is, so just decide whether you want to sit down in kneeling or you want to be up here. You're swinging. So sometimes actually swinging the arms is quite good when you're up. But then if you want to, and if you can sit down over your heels, you can then come into the kneeling twist. You can also do this thing up. You can come into a sort of up kneeling twist. But if it's possible to sit down over your heels and come down, have a couple of breaths. Just let the shoulders soften and drop. Good, and the pelvis. But you're well done, Sarah. That looked really nice what you just did. Good. And then turning the other way, having a couple of breaths going the other way. Very nice. And from here, what we're going to do is come through dog pose and the forward bend, and then roll up into standing. So whenever you're ready, come onto hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, and again, just see if it's okay. Just make sure you stay in dog pose a little bit. You don't have to push it. If dog pose feels okay, then there are real benefits to sort of staying and settling in dog. You find the sort of lengthening out through the spine, opening out across the back of the pelvis, down to the backs of the legs. So yes, dog pose when you're ready, and staying in your dog. And so, of course, if you're happy in dog, stay there longer. But some of you will be wanting to walk your hands. Try and use that blanket, Lily. And then, so some of you are going to be wanting to walk your hands in towards your feet and come into a forward bend, or Sarah, just however works for you, coming into a forward bend. If we start to find it gets too hot when we roll up, I might turn the heating off briefly. Okay, so yes, from your dog pose, whenever you're ready, walking your hands into your feet, coming into a forward bend. Use a couple of breaths there, and we can roll up into standing when you're ready. And we're going to be doing some more dog poses and forward bends in a sequence in a moment. What do we think temperature-wise? Well, I'll just turn the heating off for a bit, I think. Are you all right, Hilary? Yeah, because if you two are quite warm. I think it's that when you come up, isn't it? It's that hot air rising. Okay, first of all, let's come into our swinging twist in standing and just let everything move. And Sarah, I think it's very nice to see you in that. It's such a beautiful room you're in. Really lovely. Amazing light. coming in. So I'm just trying to not get my head cut off. I'm going to have my feet cut off now, aren't I? That's not so good. Okay, so just carry on with your swinging twist while I fiddle around with my laptop. Good. A couple more times, to the right and to the left. And then we're going to, in a moment, do a little series of things that we're going to then take into this sequence. So 3 different things, and then each time we do the sequence, we'll take one of them into it. And Sarah, I know we were talking about sound, even though you're not here, literally here this week. And we're going to work with the humming breath, but that will be the 3rd thing we try out. So anyway, let the swing twist go. And what you do first of all in stand of wiggling your pelvis from side to side. That's it. So just good. So when we do the first sequence, it's going to be adding in some wiggling of the pelvis whenever you feel like to. Very nice. Okay. And then let that go. And the second thing we're going to do in this sequence, and for this, you might just want to close your eyes for a moment, is we're going to focus our awareness on the sort of midline of ourselves, from our jaw down through the neck and chest to the belly. So you could just take a moment here in standing to sense your jaw and see if you can let your jaw soften, your tongue relax, and then just sort of just sense yourself from the jaw down to the throat and the chest, down to the belly. And just think about this whole front part of yourself softening. So we're going to take that into one of the sequences. And then the 3rd thing we're going to do is the humming breath. So that's sort of humming in the back of the throat with the mouth closed. So I was thinking this is our probably good at this time. So let's just do that a couple of times in the standing. So let a breath come in. And so again, let a breath come in and then humming in the back of your throat as you exhale. So the 3rd time we do the sequence, we're going to be using the humming breath. So to the backs of your mat. And so remember, this first sequence, we're going to be doing the sort of wiggling of the pelvis, shaking the pelvis a bit. So you can do that when you come into standing at the back of your mat. And then you can bring your hands into prayer pose, and we're going to be letting a breath come in. We're going to exhale, take the arms down and then up. And then from here, exhaling, you're going to be rolling down into your forward bend. And in your forward bend, you could wiggle your pelvis, but it might be nicer to sweep your arms from side to side. So that was, yeah, sweeping your arms from side to side is my suggestion in the forward bend, rather than wiggling your pelvis. Sweeping your arms to the right and to the left. If you wanted to focus the movement a bit more around the pelvis, you could try in your forward bend, bending one knee, bending the other. And then what we're going to be doing from our forward bend is going down through a squat. So we're going to be bending both knees, and it's fine if our heels come up. Yes, because from squat, we're then going to roll forward through the tops of the feet onto hands and knees. And once you're on hands and knees, you're going to be doing some tail wagging. So this is pelvis wiggling again. So you can wag your tail right and to the left. And you could add in some of these variations. So you could do the one where you take your lower leg out to the side and then look towards your foot. So you can repeat that a few times on one side. And you can do the same on the other side. And you could also do the one where you swing both from side to side. And if you do this slow look at your feet, can look onto it. Slightly, yes, exactly, with something a bit ill and dizzy. Yeah, so the little fishes where you swing your feet from side to side. And then come to a couple of cycles of cat. Just rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. And from your rounded up cat, you're going rounded and rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. And when you come to child pose, you could do a bit of wiggling of your pelvis, rocking your pelvis from side to side, if that's comfortable for you in child. Yeah, so just sort of be in child pose. Is there a sort of side to side wiggling you could do that feels, well, feels nice, feels enjoyable? And from child pose, we're going to slither forwards onto our belly. And then usually I think for everyone, when we come onto our belly, it's quite nice to wiggle the pelvis. So one hand on top of the other, resting the cheek or the forehead on the back of the hand, and a bit of wiggling the pelvis on your belly. And then from wiggling your pelvis, slide your hands to the floor. So you're down on the floor beneath your hands. And then just start to do that little lifting movement where we press down into us as we exhale away from the floor. A few times, pressing down into the hands, lifting the head, feeling the muscles in the upper back start to get involved with this movement. Seeing what the buttocks and the pelvis are doing, because the pelvis could stay quite relaxed in this, and just see if that's possible. And then maybe just give yourself a breath, a little just cycle of breath, resting on your belly for a moment. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And it's never particularly easy to come off our bellies. And what we're going to do from here is come onto hands and knees as comfortably as we can. And then from hands and knees back into dog pose. We haven't gone into dog pose yet in the sequence. So from hands and knees into dog pose. So tucking your toes under, rocking yourself into dog. And in dog pose, if you feel that you want to do a bit of wiggling of your pelvis from side to side, it might just be bending one knee, bending the other. Or you might just like to have a few quieter breaths in dog. And from dog pose, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet, coming into a forward bend. And then from this forward bend, you can touch the backs of your hands together. You can start to roll up into standing, taking your arms up towards the ceiling. When you're long and tall, you might give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle and drop your shoulders. And then arms, a big circle, back down and around. And perhaps just for a moment, really give your arms and legs a shake out. So we're going to repeat that sequence, but we're going to focus now on this sort of midline of ourselves, from our jaw to our belly, and just think about that part of ourselves staying and relaxed. So if you come to stand with your feet a little distance apart, hands in prayer pose, and maybe start by closing your eyes and just focusing your attention in, jaw, front of the throat, chest, down to the belly. Just letting this sort of midline of yourself soften. And let a breath come in. As you exhale, you can take your arms down and then up. You're long and tall. And then as you exhale, curling down into your forward bend. And then when you're upside down, as it is in your forward bend, how does it feel to let the jaw release? How does it feel to be soft through the front of the throat, the chest and the belly? And you're then going to start to bend your knees. So you're coming down through your squat. So fine if your heels come up, you're coming down to your squat, that's it. And then from your squat, you're rolling forward onto your knees, coming to hands and knees. And we're going to focus on cat this time, on hands and knees, so that you can have this awareness of from your jaw to your belly in the front of yourself. So when you round your back to the ceiling, that sort of front line of yourself is gathering up. And when you dip your spine down to the floor, you're creased through the front of yourself. So holding your awareness with that line from the jaw to the belly, feeling that the jaw can be soft, the tongue can be relaxed, the front of the throat, the front of the chest, the belly can all be responsive to the breathing and also responsive to your. Whenever from a rounded up cat, you're going to stay rounded and rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. And just settle in child. And then bring your attention to your jaw. And just again, can you let the jaw soften and release? Make sure that between the upper and lower sets of teeth. Your tongue relax in your mouth. Is there space around your tongue? And then down sort of the front of the throat, the chest, the belly. And all of these places just soften back. We're sort of very curled in child pose. And from child pose, you're going to be slithering forward onto your belly when you're ready. And yeah, you can start with one hand on top of the other, your cheek or your forehead resting. And you probably want to do a bit of wiggling of your pelvis, even though this is not our pelvis wiggling sequence. And just take a moment once you've settled on your belly, resting your head for the moment. Take a moment to touch in, to check in with the jaw, the front of the throat, the chest, the belly. And then when we move on to sliding the hands forwards, doing our little lifting movements of the head, we can notice how we're opening out through this midline, through the front of ourselves. So we press down through our elbows and our forearms, we lift the head. And then as we do this, we're creating space between, from the jaw to the belly. We're lengthening out, but we're still wanting to stay soft, particularly in the jaw. So do this a few times. Moving on your out breath. And then again, you might just like to have a quiet cycle or two of breath lying on your feet. And in your own time, you're going to make your way onto hands and knees as comfortably as you can, and then on into dog pose. So tucking the toes under, exhaling, rocking yourself up into dog. And when you arrive in dog, again, we're sort of in this upside down position, so we can have our awareness flowing from our jaw to our belly. And dog pose is a really good place to have the mouth open. You can do a bit of yawny type things here to release the jaw. Yeah, so you have to mention a yawn on the Friday morning. And then from dog pose, walking your hands in towards your feet, into a forward bend. And again, we'll roll up into standing, touching the backs of the hands together, trailing the fingers up the midline of ourselves, all the way up to the ceiling. Good. And then exhaling. We're back and standing. Lovely. So we're going to do one more cycle of this sequence, and this time we're going to move a bit with our humming breath, which is quite nice. So we'll we'll start here in standing. We use a humming breath to take our arms up, and then we'll use another one to take us down into the forward bend and squat. So let a breath come in, and as you exhale, breathe in, and with your next humming breath, you see if you can use that single hum to go into the forward bend and your squat. And then rolling forwards onto the tops of, through the tops of your feet onto your knees, and just come to your choice now, really, between cat and some tail wagging. We're not, for the moment, doing any humming in this. We will use the humming breath in a moment to take us into child pose. So just whatever you feel like in terms of cat or tail wagging. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to start a humming breath, which will round our back and rock us back into child. So let a breath come in. Maybe have a cycle of breath in child pose, and then slithering forwards onto your belly. And on our bellies, when we arrive on our bellies, we're going to use the humming breath to take us into that little lifting movement, that little sinking down into the arms and lifting the head. So again, you could wiggling your pelvis, but start with your hands a bit further forward so your head is on the floor, and let the breath come in, and it's as you exhale, sinking down, making your humming sound, lifting your head. And do this 3 or 4 times. So bring your head back down to rest in between times. But what we might find is the humming breath really lengthens out our breathing, so we're lifting our head for longer. So let the breath come in. Do that once more if you like, or just rest down for a moment and have a couple of quiet breaths. Very nice. And then we'll make our way onto hands and knees, and we'll use the humming breath to take us into dog pose. And I think some of you, we were talking last week about sound, and talking to fellow yoga teachers, thought that's quite a safe one when we're together because our mouths are closed. So from the hands and knees, letting a breath come in, going into dog with the hum. At the end of your hum, if you want a few more breaths of dog, you can do. Otherwise, at the end of your hum, walking your hands in towards your feet. And we'll use one last humming breath to roll ourselves up into standing with the backs of the hands touching. So let the breath come in. Very nice. And then, yes, have a little shake out. We're going to come on to a couple of balancing things. so the first thing we're going to do is tree pose. And I just want you to sort of choose a tree pose. Have a little drink of water, might be the time now. Choose a tree pose which is quite familiar and, I wouldn't say easy for you, but reasonably easy. So one thing is obviously having your hand on a wall if you feel you need a bit of steadying today. So you could be doing your little mini tree. You could be bringing your foot a little bit higher up if you like. So yeah, really, really just up to you. You might want to start by a bit of swaying from side to side and choosing which foot you're going to stand on. And just think about this tree pose being something familiar, something calming, hopefully something soothing. So when you've chosen which foot you're going to stand on, then start to transfer that weight into your leg, and just obviously then at this point deciding where are you going to bring the foot that's coming off the floor, how far up the inside of your standing leg is it going to come? And then how is it when you bring your hands into prayer pose? You might want to find that point to focus your gaze on, something steady, but obviously not getting too starey, keeping your eyes quite relaxed and soft. And then if you want that expansive feeling of letting your arms grow up, obviously keep the shoulders soft and relaxed, good. Maybe stay nice and soft into the palms, alive into the fingers. Good. You might want another breath or two there, or you might like to bring your hands back to prayer pose in front of your chest. And just see if you can settle for another breath or two. Good, and then well done. Oh, balancing far better than me. Come down, have a little shake out. Is it all right, Hilary? Is it pretty challenging? Just being tired. Challenging. Yeah. I was thinking I found balancing very hard yesterday. So coming down, making your way onto side two. Again, using, if you feel a bit unsteady today, just fingertips on some sort of support. I'm thinking I could quite do with that. Might be quite helpful. So foot can come on the ankle. You can bring your foot further up your thigh if you like. So obviously, we're looking to see if we can come to this, familiar place of tree pose where it might be possible to settle. And if we have a few wobbles, that's fine. We can always just make our way back into tree. So settle, let the breath flow. Maybe take the arms up if you'd like to. Good. Good. And letting your awareness travel throughout the whole of your body. So down to your foot, to your heel and your toes, up to your fingers and your palms, checking in with your jaw. You can come back to that awareness of the front of ourselves, from our jaw to our belly, and softening through that midline. Yes, hands back to prayer pose. I think, Sarah, is the right time. Good. Very nice. Yes, and exactly that, Hilary. When you come down from your tree pose, maybe just come into a normal forward bend, feet a little distance apart. Let yourself soften forwards, have a couple of quiet breaths. We're going to do one more balance in a moment. So if you come into a forward bend, it's just this moment to let your focus go, to soften the body and the attention. And then sinking into your heels, coming back up into standing. And organize yourself on your mat so you've got a bit of space in front of you to step forwards, which you may well do anyway. And we're going to step one foot forward, and we're going to do a little bit of rocking forwards and back. So we're just feeling our feet on the floor. We can have perhaps that steadying, calming, I find it steadying, calming, rocking movement. And then from here, you're going to settle down with, and just look at your feet. Have your feet pointing forward. Maybe just feel your pelvis for a moment, and then come to swing your arms without letting your pelvis move. Okay. And then come to this one. We've been doing this a lot in the last few weeks, where you're swinging you're turning towards your back leg, and you're letting your pelvis move now. So if you let your pelvis move, you might want to let your back foot turn out. So we're coming to this approach to half moon pose that we've been doing a little bit in the last few weeks. So we've let the back foot turn out, we've let the pelvis turn to the side. You might feel at this point you want to step your front foot a little bit further forward, because we're going to be bending the front knee and bring the arms out to shoulder height. So we've really turned to face the side and we're feeling very wide. Now, whereas with tree pose, we were thinking about doing something where we could feel quite sort of soothed and it's familiar. This may be less familiar and more wobbly. So start off by thinking, okay, it's going to be wobbly. As we start to shift our weight into our front foot and tip forward. So if we do find a moment of steadiness, then that's a bonus. If we do that almost a couple of times, we can come back up. And just, I suppose the most important thing here is to keep this feeling of the pelvis has turned to the side. We're really wide across the front of the chest and the arms. And we keep this spacious feeling as we start to tip forward. And maybe your middle finger reaches the floor, the tip of your middle finger. Maybe not. Oh, whoops. Knock over the poker. Move that out of the way. Good. To do that a couple, well done. To do that a couple of times on that first side, and then we'll, very nice. Want to do it once, we'll do so, and we'll come on to the other side. Yeah, so just this tipping forward. That's the sort of thing the airport does. Well done. Very nice. That's it. Good. Yeah. So I think it really helps me to think, yeah, I'm definitely going to wobble in that one. And then if I don't wobble, it's a bonus. So we're going to step the other foot forwards. I've come to the other end of my mat. It's entirely up to you. Step your other foot forwards. Come to a bit of weight forwards and back. Weight into the front foot, weight back foot. And just let yourself settle down. So sometimes just a bit excited, which is no bad thing, but we also want to calm down and help us settle. So pelvis, feet pointing forwards at this moment, pelvis facing forwards, swing the arms, but not the pelvis. So feel very rooted from the waist down. That might just help you feel steady and less excitable. Okay, you can just have that movement of actually, let's turn towards the back leg and let the pelvis turn and let that back foot turn out if it so wishes. Okay, so we're coming to this place where our pelvis, our back leg is turned, our back foot is turned, our pelvis is turned. If we want to step the front foot forwards a little bit, we can do and bend the knee. There's always a balance here because we've got to take our weight into that front foot. So yeah, if we take it too far, it maybe feels harder. You've got to play around. Take the arms up at shoulder height. So the front knee's bent, the arms are at shoulder height. We're feeling wide to the front of ourselves. And then what's it like to start to shift the weight into the front foot and to just tip forward. Good, very nice. And try a couple of times on this side, come back up. Very nice, yes, lovely. You find your foot position, you find this feeling of space through the body. So we're like this huge sail, a sail on a sail. So we're like this huge, full silvery moon. And then as we tip forward, we try to sort of keep this feeling of expansiveness, of width, spaciousness. Good. So very nice. If you feel you want to do that one more time, let your bottom arm release the ground, Sally. That's it, if you can. And that's, yeah, that's it, Alex. So there is a point, obviously, when our bottom arm is not releasing to the ground, but there is also a point at which we can then let the bottom arm fall down. Well done, very nice. That's it, good. Well done. Okay, yes, if you want to do any more of that, you are very welcome. What I was going to suggest after that would be to do a wide forward bend. So if you stand so you're facing the long edge of your mat, and that's it. And then release that bottom arm to the ground if you can, Sally. So it's just going to that's it. Yes, so it might be that moment could be a challenging one when we release the bottom arm. Okay, so a wide forward bend. And when you arrive in your forward bend, and you can do your thing if you like. Anything you want to do, it might just be you want to release forward, sink your heels. But as always, you can do a bit of bending your knees. If your knees are happy with that, shifting your weight from side to side. One that I'm quite keen on at the moment is, without bending my knees, walking my hands towards one foot and then over towards the other foot. So, but also just make sure in this wide forward bend, you give yourself a little bit of time just to be sort of quiet and folding forwards. Perhaps your hands resting on the ground, perhaps holding your elbows. Good. Very nice. And then from this wide forward bend, you could stay bending forwards, but walk your feet in towards each other until they end up being a little distance apart, sort of Tadasana, standing distance apart. And then you could start to bend your knees and come down through one last squat. Yes, good. And again, it's fine if the heels come up. And from this squat, we're going to sit down into cobbler pose. Good. Okay. And let me just see how we're doing. Yes, and so from this cobbler pose, I just wanted us to come back to our humming breath for a couple of cycles of breath. So it might be, if you've got a wall or a sofa nearby and you want to shuffle back so your pelvis is against the wall or the sofa, you could do. We will be coming back into the room in a moment, but it might be nice to just be able to sit back against the wall. Yeah, that's quite a good setup. So we're going to come back to our humming breath. Lift your hands. If you're sitting in the room, you might want to hold your feet or lean back onto your arms. So rest your hands. If you'll get against the wall, you could rest your hands on your thigh. You could close your eyes. Try not to rest the back of your head on the wall if you're by a wall. And we'll let a breath come in, and then we'll do the humming breath. We'll do this 3 times. So let the breath come in. I got a bit carried away there. I was about to do the buzzing breath. At home, you can do the buzzing breath. Yes. So yes, we do. Yeah. So at home, you could do the buzzing breath, but we'll do the humming breath here. So another once more. Let the breath come in. And one last time, let the breath come in. you've got your back against the sofa or wall, just make your way back onto your mat. Because from here, so from your cobbler pose, we're going to come on into pigeon pose. So from cobbler pose, come on through pinwheel. And from pinwheel, we're going to move into pigeon. So I have to remove Otto. So it's your knee that we normally fold over in pinwheel. You're going to slide that knee back. Otto, on your bed. You're going to slide that knee back, and then you're going to lean your weight over that leg so you can lengthen your back leg out and move on into pigeon pose. I'm not quite sure what Otto thinks this is. Wait, new distraction. Come on your bed. No, on your bed. On your bed. Good. That's it. So coming into your pigeon pose and just seeing, so you've either got that option that your pelvis is sort of off to the side a bit, or you've rolled your pelvis over so it's a bit more centered, and just see if you can find a place where you can have, so it could be on your elbows, it could be resting your head down, it could be coming up onto your hands. And if you're in pigeon pose and any point you want to come out, from pigeon pose, we're going to roll out and come to sit with our legs long and wide. And you could bring your back again to your sofa or wall, because we're going to come back to in breath. And again, yes, it's up to you. If you're happy in pigeon, you can stay in a bit longer. You want to move on out of pigeon. But equally, if you've had enough pigeon, lengthen your legs out. And we'll come to 3 more cycles of our humming breath. You could do that in pigeon if you preferred. So we're going to let a breath come in. Again, let a breath come in. And 1 more cycle of breath, of humming breath. If you've moved away from your mat, come back to your mat, make your way to cobbler pose, other side of pinwheel, so we can come into side 2 of pigeon. So we've come through pinwheel, we're sliding this knee that we would fold over for the pinwheel forward bend, we're sliding it back a bit, lining up our thigh with the long edge of the mat. That leg, lengthening the other leg out behind you, settling down into pigeon. And again, you've got these options, whether you let your pelvis roll to the center or you keep your pelvis a bit off to the side. Good. And yes, you can do a little bit of rocking in pigeon if that's helpful for you. Coming back to our sort of pelvis wiggling. Just finding a place in pigeon where you could settle and breathe and be there. And then, of course, equally, if you've had enough pigeon, we'll come back and we'll roll out. We'll come and sit with our legs long and wide again. And this time, it would be really good to put your back against the wall if you haven't, because, yeah. We'll come back to 3 more breaths and then it will be lying down. So pigeon, wide legs. I was just thinking this time it might be quite nice to roll your legs a little bit. So when I was sitting with my legs wide a moment ago, they felt like they were hanging on a little bit. So yeah, let the legs roll. Something behind you. Good. And then let's have 3 final cycles of humming breath. So hands resting on the thighs, letting the breath come in. And again. And one last time. And then it would be nice to just lie down for a minute or two. So if you've got time to do that, you're welcome to sit if you prefer. Lie down, and do you want an extra blanket? You okay? Yeah. Sarah, would you like a blanket? Otto? Don't you dare. No. He is, isn't he? I wonder whether he thinks the humming breath was the bowl at the end. That's, or he's just, yeah, his timing is a bit off. Bed. So yes, settling down onto your back. So if you wanted to do a little bit of tilting your knees from side to side, that would be quite a nice way to finish. It might be that you just would like to lie down and settle quietly. Let's see, yeah. Turn that light off. And so when you come to settle down, let your body rest, let your breathing settle, and let your awareness be expansive. So you can be aware of the feeling of your body, feeling of the breath flowing through you, sounds around the air, also that sort of inner flow of thoughts and images and feelings. So thank you, everyone. You don't need to move unless you have to be somewhere. So thank you. Sally, have a great time on your retreat. And take care, everyone. Nice to see Wilf there on the sofa, Donna. So Otto, you can come in there. Otto's been coming in. Oh, nice to see Athena. That's such a cute jumper. So looks really adorable. Ah, yeah, so sweet. Bye.